it is literally Bitcoin and literally everything else. I think real estate, bonds, stonks, altcoins, they're all in another basket, and there's varying degrees of what's good within there. But there's Bitcoin, and there's literally every other asset available to humanity in another basket, and those thoughts kind of progressed during that time, and I was like, I just need as much Bitcoin as possible.
Right, yeah, this is the most ridiculous but amazing open to a podcast I think I've ever done. Thank you for inviting me to Lowood Bay. It's good to have you on the podcast. It's been a long time coming.
Thanks, Jordan. It is a great honor to have you here at Lowood Bay Resort and Spa. And this whole thing's just been a psyop from the Bitcoin collective community. They just wanted to see you without clothes on. I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I was just paid to get you in this pool. No, I'm kidding. It is really good to see it and share what we've got here at Lowood Bay, overlooking Windermere. With this amazing business, which, as is accepting Bitcoin and integrating ourselves into the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, and it's nice to just come and experience it as well. And actually be here and experience the spa. I'm staying the night as well, and it's been wonderful experience so far. Right, tell me about the business. How did you get into it? And I believe it's a family. It's in the family for generations.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll give you a quick kind of family history of the business. So my family got involved in hotels 1952. So my great uncle took the lease on this property, ended up buying it, and this guy was called Norman, and he was like, he was kind of the crypto trader of his day. He was speculating on everything.
Okay.
So he was, whether it was diamonds, physical diamonds, he was buying, commodities, real estate, stocks. He was just investing in everything. And, post Second World War, he was able to, pursue that. And with the real estate that he picked up, and a number of those properties were hotels, but he soon found out that people turn up to like work in them and stay in them, and that takes a bit of work and effort. And he asked my granddad to come and help him, and then my father grew up within the business. He went and trained in London with a Savoy Group, and every generation has added something to what we do here. And we've now got this fantastic world-class resort here on the shores of Windermere, with this plethora of facilities, including this wonderful spa. With we're in one of many of these infinity pools. There's hot tubs over there. I know you'd prefer to be here with your lovely lady. She might have a passion fruit martini, and you might have an Estrella or some other orange drink. I think we're contractually obliged to have orange drinks as Bitcoiners.
Yeah, I saw a Jaffa cake cocktail.
Yes. So, but the company's had a long journey over these years from relatively humble beginnings. I know, having owned a hotel, you can't say that's humble, but it was a very different business back then.
Yeah.
It closed in the winter. Everyone got fired, for the winter. And now, the Lake District is, and Lowood Bay is is a year-round destination for people. People can come in the winter and enjoy it. For those people that haven't been to the Lake District, we usually have wonderful blue skies all year round. It's usually like 25 degrees Celsius all the time. But it is, as I say, year-round destination for people to come, relax, go hiking, enjoy the natural beauty, as well as what humans are built here. So very proud to be leading this business as the fifth generation, effectively running the family business. And having been exposed to Bitcoin a lot earlier on in my life, it was a key priority of me trying to bring it into the business, because I knew the benefits that would come with it.
Is that because you said earlier, each generation's added something to the business. Is that like one of the things that you see that you're adding to the business?
Yeah, there was a few key things that I really wanted to do when I, took over custodianship of the business. And, Bitcoin aligns so well with family businesses, because family businesses, you're often thinking about, generational change and being around for a very long time. It's that reducing time preference, view of the world. And as I say, yeah, every generation added things in. So, my great uncle, bought them. My granddad professionalized it and turned it into a business that functioned. My father premiumized it and started marketing the business. Going out to Japan, going out to the States, going out to China. He was an early adopter of the internet, and I know that's super weird to say, but there were people that were early adopters to the internet, right?
Yeah.
And our business was one of those. And I made that point when I was orange pilling the board that there's a precedent here. When my father wanted to get us on the internet, people thought the internet was just for porn or gambling, and now it's this huge humanity impacting piece of infrastructure. And that's the same as Bitcoin. And some people are, Bitcoin's just for Ponzi games, for scams, for drugs or whatever. And it's not. Actually, it's a piece of freedom technology, savings technology, and as a marketing tool, for the business. So yeah, it was one of the things I wanted to do, with the business. The other part was expanding, our spa operations.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic business. People love it. It's an amazing experience. It's an Instagrammable, experience. And it works really well as a business, and we continue to expand it. So this pool that we're in right now was the first expansion I did. We've just completed another amazing expansion upstairs, where we've got this amazing lounge. There's LED face masks. I've been trying to convince Jordan that we should have done this as well with LED face masks. And on, which they're not that easy to talk through, because we kind of have a tiny little hole. But yeah, another, we could get some, facial cream on or whatever. But
cucumbers on the eyes.
Yeah, cucumbers on, and it's just going to keep going, because you can't stay still. We want to keep growing, keep expanding, keep showing people what amazing stuff can happen here in the UK. And it's easy for so many people to get downtrodden about the state of the UK, but actually there's some really cool stuff here, like what we've built here at Lower Bay.
Yeah, that's the aim of the podcast, and like the movement that we're trying to do as well with like the Bitcoin Business Network, because there is so many great businesses, and like by coming here I can see like this is a great business and it's endless. Honestly, like the spa area, you were just showing us around, and there was just room after room, like and like the same with the pools, the saunas. It's quite incredible to see. And like people can get like stuck up in the doom and gloom of the UK, of running a business in the UK, but there is actually fantastic businesses out there.
That's it. And it's not easy out there, and a lot of people are struggling. I think that's why getting a network together of businesses, so that we can cross pollinate, we can raise our spirits, build morale, work together, promote not just our businesses, but obviously Bitcoin as a network, and work together. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with a lot of Bitcoiners and non-Bitcoiners, clearly. But it's something that we're super keen on, to share these amazing experiences with as many people as possible.
Awesome. Right. On that note, I think we take the rest of the interview inside, because I don't know about you, but my hand is freezing. And I'm sure Alex finds the cameras pretty cold as well.
Just the classic Scott. It's a wee bit nippy. You're going to get me doing my Scott.
Oh, no. Right. Cut that before we go. Cool. Right. Let's continue the rest inside.
Sounds good.
Right. We're in the warmth now. Although it was warm out there, but
Yeah.
my hand wasn't.
I always get way too hot having come out of the spa because you're in that warm water and then you come out, and I'm used to, like, I like getting in the lake, you know, and swimming and being in cold water. And I get a bit warm afterwards, but it's always nice inside in the Lake District as well. So.
Yeah, it's nice. Like, I'm not one to do it, but when you go into, like, a lot of people do it, like go into a cold plunge and then go into a sauna, and then like that's what it kind of felt like, because it was like we were in the really warm water, get out, went to the hot tub, and just bounced between the different pools. So yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah, really nice. We're actually developing plans at the moment for a sauna on the lakeside as part of an open water, swimming experience.
Yeah.
So you'll go out in like it's never like super warm, the water, but obviously it does flex the temperature of the water, and it's chilly for some people. And then you'll be able to get in this sauna. The concept I'm thinking, I want drink service as part of it, and like a half an hour sauna, half an hour swimming, or 20 minutes. Make it really nice. So it's in the pipeline.
It's in the pipeline. Nice. Yeah.
So next time you come.
I'll text you, make sure it's built, and then I'll come.
Good.
Speaking of that, like in the background here, we've got like the marina, which in the summer you do loads of, because how I'm seeing this experience, and I would call it an experience more than just going to a hotel.
Yeah.
It's like, how important is it for you to create that experience? Because there's so many different touch points that I've experienced, like going around the hotel. And then in the summer months, you've also got like water activities.
That's it. Yeah. So it's really important. And I've been trying to take the business from a point of being a hotel to a resort, somewhere you go on holiday, and hotels you go and stay, whereas resorts you go on holiday and you stay for longer and you do activities, and so putting in more and more amazing experiences is super important to me. And as you say, we've got the marina, where we have during the summer months, some fantastic huge boats, privately owned boats there. Then we have our water sports, where there's a plethora of activities, and people love paddleboarding's, been hot for a minute now, and people love paddleboarding. And but we've got your classic kayaks and canoes. We do wake surfing, which is
nice.
great fun. And there's little putt motorboats, for you to go exploring yourself around the lake, whether you want to go for a few hours or a day or whatever.
Yeah.
And as you point out, it's just one part of what we offer here at Lowood Bay Resort, and it allows you to put together a multi-day stay, not just with what we have on site, but the natural beauty that's around us. Going for a walk on the fells. We were looking at the Langdale Pikes, in the spa. Fantastic walks, and including walks, on our land at the back. Heading up, we've got a waterfall on site right next to our own hydroelectric scheme. And you can head up to Wands Fell from the back here. Again, there's further waterfalls up there. So there's a whole bunch of activities for both couples, whether you're young or old, and families, here in the Lake District. And my job is putting that together, packaging it, bundling it, and making sure that people have something that they can aspire to book and come and enjoy.
What's it? Because you said you took over in 2022. You took on the role of MD. What does that actually look like? Like, because it's not just one hotel either as well. You've got more than one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it was a great honor to take on the role of managing director, and I benefit from my father still being involved. So he's our chairman, and works in proactively in the business. And not all family businesses have smooth transitions, right? Sometimes it is hard, doesn't work. Some families don't talk to each other and stuff. But I've been blessed with my family, my father giving me all the tools and all of the power to move the business in the way that I want, to bring on the executive team that I wanted, and I brought them on at the same time to take the business forward. And, as you say, in terms of the actual, how does that work? I mean, I was already a director. So, a company's house, all directors are directors. They don't define, the different types. But within the business, obviously, there's set roles that we set. And, I have an operations director for the hotels. I have an operations director for the spa side because of how important that is. I've got sales director, finance director, and these guys, help deliver the vision that we have of, and I'd alluded to it before, turning the business from a hotel company into an amazing experiences company. And that's what we want to be, is delivering amazing experiences to our guests and developing phenomenal products that people are going to love what we do here. Obviously there's a fair amount, when you take on a new job that you've aspired to, you have a bunch of stuff that you want to do, right? Yeah. So it's like, okay, cool, let's crack on. And there was it wasn't just Bitcoin that I wanted to take on. There was stuff around governance, trying to make sure that we're set up for any rainy days when people start to disagree. Everyone gets on now, but having shareholders agreement, updating articles so that they're modern. I mean, some of our articles were pre-World War One, right? And none of them matched, like, of the different group companies. Right? So it's like, okay, that shouldn't be that way. You need to, so strictly speaking, we're not supposed to have board meetings via Teams, but people have board meetings, via Teams now, right? It's a thing that, modern companies are able to do. So things like governance, but also, taking the values of the company where I want them to be. So we, usually, and you'll know this because you're an entrepreneur yourself and you've created businesses. When you approach a brand, there's a few things that you want to put together, and usually you'd think, okay, I want values, I want a mission statement, I want a vision statement, and instead of those, for English Lakes, for English Lakes Hotels, we have got what we do, what we believe, and where we're going, and they're the kind of core things. Nice. And what we believe in is respect, creativity, and fun. And it's those three things that we try and bring into everything that we do, and bring that energy when we're approaching stuff. Like we just had some filming in a pool, right? That's pretty creative, right? That's fun. But we also made sure that we were slightly under the water. We were being respectful, right? We weren't, flaunting it. And so, it's those kind of things. It's like, when we have a tough decision to make, or we're thinking about, where we should prioritize, it's like, okay, does it hit those, what we believe in, respect, creativity, and fun. And then, what we do here is creating amazing experiences. And that's, what we drill in day after day. That's what we're all about. So, taking the reins, as I say, it was a smooth transition from my father as MD, and he had a similar kind of journey where he was a director in the business. He looked after marketing, and then his father, my granddad, was managing director and chairman. And my granddad stepped back into just the chairman role, and my father took over as MD, and my father's replicated that with me, and it's worked phenomenally well.
Do you hope that, because I know you've got kids, do you hope then that they will get into the hospitality business as well, and you can keep that going?
I would love for them to be involved. I mean, upon their birth, I kind of and it is a meme, and it's me being silly as I so often am. But I kind of, for my daughter, my eldest, I was like, she's going to be an astronaut. Yeah, that's what I want for her, to be an astronaut. And then for my son, I decided he was going to be a leader of nations, but he's more likely to be a destroyer of nations. It's just he's fantastic. But in all seriousness, I mean, it'd be wonderful to come into the business. The business is going to be continues to change and will change dramatically over my lifetime. You know, if you think about the advancements that we've seen over our lifetime, and things are accelerating, especially with, you know, AI, robotics, automation, you know, what will hospitality look like in 30 years? You know, I talk to my daughter now, I'm not sure she'll learn to drive.
Yeah.
Right? Which is pretty wild, because I really like driving. I really enjoy driving. You know, and I'm very happy to do it. But I don't know whether she will learn to drive, both because cars may not require human input, or the government might say humans shouldn't drive anymore, because it's like the best way to die in the UK for the most part. So, and that, you know, will come through into hospitality as well. I don't know, you know, where things will go. And I think we'll be one of the least impacted industries from, say, robotics or AI, because it is a people business, right? You want the interaction with people. You know, we were having dinner last night, and, you know, you were getting your rare sirloin with your béarnaise sauce, and you went with chips. I'm so glad you went with real chips rather than fries. Yeah. And
Alex.
Yeah, Alex went with the fries. I didn't say anything at the time. Like, oh man, this guy, unacceptable behavior. So, and then he stole the tater tot at the end as well. So
hey, you only had one, to be fair.
I only had one as well. Yeah. Anyway, but you know, we're interacting with the staff, and there's smiles, there's interaction. People want that in hospitality. They want you know, service, and I don't think that AI and robotics can deliver that on the same level. So I think we're fairly insulated from those kind of big changes. But as I say, for my kids, I want them to do the best possible. Like, you know, what's the meaning of life? I don't know exactly, but a fantastic purpose of life is to ensure that your children get the best opportunities possible. You know, I always think about how I want to beat my father's high score. I want to be the best male of my bloodline, right? That's how I think and how I'm approaching life. And so I want to give my children the best possible platform for them to do even better than I've been able to do. So, you know, will that be with this business? You know, hopefully, maybe, but maybe they'll go out and do other things. And, you know, it is a family business, but it's also important, you know, for people to build wealth outside of, you know, their primary employment. You know, I'm not a shareholder. There are family members who are. Maybe I will be a shareholder in the future. So that plays into it as well, and kind of building that entrepreneurial spirit within the kids. And they design hotels now. Like as kid, like 6 and 8 year olds, like they're designing hotels. Like my son is pretty keen that there should be koalas involved in the hotel, and that's a legit cool concept. Like you would,
it fits into the fun, the creative.
Yep.
And as long as you're respectable with it.
Exactly. Like we know, and I don't know if he thought of it, but I would love to run a property with giraffes.
Yeah.
Like, and because people love that kind of, you know, they want a memorable experience. They want to interact with stuff that they've not been able to. And so, yeah, he's got koalas. My daughter's coming up with all wonderful kind of ideas. So, yeah, I will push and try and guide them through life, but for the most part it is up to them, and if they don't want to be involved, then that's cool with me as well, as long as they're doing something productive. And life can take people different ways, and I worry sometimes about where they might end up, whether that's if they went to university and became socialists, then I'd be worried about that. But you just have to pray and guide them and do your best you can.
It's so funny.
You need to send them to an amazing school in Scotland.
You do, called Lomond School.
Because schools are so important for kids, because you imagine like I get to interact with them and I try and instill my values. which are fairly close to yours, as Bitcoiners, we believe in freedom, individual choice. And yeah, we're freedom maximalists for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of deposit our children with people who might not have the same values as us, and teaching them things that we might not believe in. And, even the kids' books that I get to read to them in the evening, sometimes I'm like, it's not quite right. It's not what I believe in. And I explain, why and how this book might be pushing certain kind of narratives or messages.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I'm going to go back to the, because the only constant is change within anything. So it's within like the hotel business, hospitality. One of my questions was, and it's weird because I was sitting down at breakfast with Alex and I was like, this is like some of the questions. One of them was around AI, and I was like, it's a people business that you're running. So how are you getting affected by AI now? And like, what are you implementing? Because there will be aspects of the business that you can change, but then there'll be front-facing stuff that you can't change.
Yeah, I am a big AI enjoyer. It's I use it every day, multiple times a day, for a whole plethora of things. And so in terms of the business, I 6 months ago or so, it's now a standing item on the board agenda, artificial intelligence, and we split it over 3 areas: systems, sales, and personnel. And because there's, in terms of systems, there's agents that we should deploy within the business to be able to assist us. So give you a small example. We take a lot of time checking menus, right? Like our menus need to be checked for spelling mistakes, for formatting, for whether they say the allergens right, all this kind of stuff. That takes time and energy. And if we can get an AI agent to help us with that, then that's beneficial, right? There's some content that needs to be produced that we can have, AI assist with. It's really important to me because if you spend any time on X or anywhere else, you can spot AI content from a mile off.
Yeah.
There's a few markers, whether it's, those M dashes or certain ways that questions are formed and other bits and bobs. And I switch off when I know it's AI, right? Yeah. And so, it's important that we use AI as a tool, not as, the full output with everything that we do. In terms of sales, increasingly, Jordan, you get the chance to travel now and again, and you'll be thinking about recommendations about, where you should go, what you should do. And you might have gone on to your favorite AI tool, let's say ChatGPT, and said, where can I take my missus for a romantic getaway? And I want to make sure that I'm up there as a recommended thing. And that takes a certain amount of time and energy. So you have search engine optimization, and we now need generative engine optimization, which is slightly different. So there's some things that we have to do. But basically, if you think about the Venn diagram, almost all of search engine optimization is going to help you generative engine optimization. But there's some other stuff that you need to do to make sure that your website is machine readable, that you've got the kind of content that they like lists. Content that's referencing things other than yourself, all that kind of stuff. So that on the sales side, that's really important. And we're seeing increasing numbers of people do that. We're tracking the increase, which is it's almost doubling every month, but from a very small base in terms of referrals to our website from AI tools, from people searching, saying, hey, where's the best spa? We legitimately have the best spa in the country, I believe. Others might say we're only in the top 5, but still, that needs to come up on AI, right? If you're searching, and I want people to find that and come through to our website and make a booking decision and come and have that amazing experience with us. And then in terms of personnel, adoption cycles, whether it's Bitcoin or AI or the internet or electricity, all these personal cars, they kind of spread over time, but you can accelerate that if you want people to do something more of something. So the internet, for example, or just personal computing. Your parents might have got a computer, they might not have, but if someone told them you need to get a personal computer, here it is, and I'm going to show you how to use it, the chance of them using it then to benefit their lives increases huge. Then if they're left to their own devices to figure it out, maybe buy a computer, maybe not buy a computer. So in terms of AI, I began a program called it AI 101. Which confused everyone, because in the United Kingdom, room 101's like where you put stuff you don't want anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, 101's like the start of a subject. So you go to physics 101 to start your classes. Anyway, so put that to one side for a second. That which did confuse people. Ran a program with essentially the whole management team, so all the board, every manager, and the sessions lasted about 45 minutes to an hour. And I took the team through what AI is today, what it is not, what it can do, what it can't do, the dangers of it, and how they might be able to use it in their job.
Yeah.
Because and in their own lives. And then we pursued a corporate account. And we have corporate accounts both with Copilot through Microsoft and through OpenAI with ChatGPT for certain team members. And I see the benefit in my own life, and I know it would benefit my team if I can make them slightly more productive, slightly more creative, because it just helps. I don't want to obfuscate thinking. So when we were kids, right, in maths, your teacher's like, you're not going to carry around a calculator in your pocket all the time. We do now carry a calculator around our pockets. And they were wrong. But what it has meant is, like, I'm worse at mental arithmetic now than I was then, because I just put it in my pocket and I just do the maths on my phone, right? And I'm conscious of that with AI, that, again, it's another tool that I might just stop thinking about certain things and handing it over. So I'm conscious of that, and make that clear to the team, where and how it's best to use it, what hallucinations are, etc. And so that's the kind of basis of which we're at right now. Moving forward, there's some automations and some help. We've seen this explosion over the last couple of weeks with Malt. What's it called? Malt. Have you seen lobsters all over your timeline on Twitter?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like Claude, the Reddit for AI.
So that's part of it. So someone made a version of Claude, that that operates on its own computer and has the tools to do lots of things. And that one of them made a Reddit for them all to start talking. And as part of that, I'm thinking, okay, I could use one of these to automate a bunch of tasks that some of our team are doing. Yeah. And so bringing in some of those agents, is going to be, going to be good and beneficial to the business. But it'll take time. There's no huge rush. Yeah. The bigger changes that may come about are around robotics. In guest-facing roles, it's unlikely, but increasingly you'll see robots deployed hoovering hallways. You see them delivering food now in hotels. Yeah. And we see solutions in care homes for, doing lots of things at the moment. Automation in kitchens may well come about, where there's, robots literally cooking and preparing food. And, I instinctively don't want that, but chefs in particular are really a huge challenge for the industry. Since 97, Tony Blair really pushed people to go to university rather than to have a real skill. Just like offended everyone watching this, but and that impacted loads of trades, including becoming a chef. And so there's a real pinch point for the industry. And we, as a business, we've had a chef academy scheme where we bring people from school and teach them how to become, fantastic chefs and employ them. We've spent a lot of time and energy on bringing people in from overseas. It's incredibly expensive, time consuming, but yeah, it's a real pinch point for the industry and for us as a business. And so can I see some automation happening there? If there was a chance, if I could, get a robot that could be a CDP, chef de partie, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good, but it needs to be at certain levels, needs to be, safe, reliable, etc. And so, I can see that happening over, maybe the next 10 years or so. As AI gets better, I think we'll see robotics get better because AI is going to be designing the robots to make them better.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll see. But as I say, I'm blessed that hospitality is somewhat insulated. We see AI may well end up disrupting huge swathes of white collar jobs. Architects, solicitors, bankers, all those kind of things. But hospitality, as I say, is typically a person to person kind of business, and so it's what happens to our customer base that worries me more than what happens to the business, right?
Yeah.
Will they be able to afford it if they don't have a job?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting just talking about like how different industries are changing. And like, that was my one thought with you is like, it is fairly insulated in the grand scheme of things because you are in the business of, people. Speaking of another technological advancement, or innovation, let's move on to Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
The reason why most people are here. Right. Tell me your story, how you got into Bitcoin.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, I'll give you this. It's a very long story, but I'm going to give you an abridged version of it. So we used to operate a hotel about a mile north of here. And I remember the day I was reading a newspaper, just flicking through the paper. Do you remember we used to read newspapers? In the olden days, we had these, just for any Zoomers watching this, there was these pieces of paper. We used to have things that were happening on it.
It was actually funny. So someone was, I was trying to explain to someone the other day, and like, I'm not that old, but like the yellow pages, it feels like it was like not that long ago that we had the yellow pages, and like they'd get delivered to your house every year, I think it was. And I was explaining to someone younger than me. This is a moment where I was like, oh God, maybe I am old. And like explaining what the yellow pages were.
Yeah, exactly.
And they couldn't get their head around it.
So good. Yeah, very funny. So I was reading this newspaper, and there was this article in it about the Facebook founders buying something called Bitcoin. And I didn't know who these people were. I didn't know what Bitcoin was, but I was like, this is interesting. I should find out why and what they're doing. If they've founded Facebook, clearly they're like successful, smart people, right? Got a lot of money. Why are they now, going all in on this thing called Bitcoin, right? So I was like, I need to learn as much as I can about this immediately. So, spent a decent amount of time on Bitcoin Talk, the forum. Read as much as I could about it at the time. And like literally everyone that gets involved with Bitcoin, I'm like, but wait, this one is faster. This one is cheaper. This one is this. Oh, look at all these things. Yeah, Bitcoin has these problems, I'm told, and it can be solved by whatever random, altcoins. So yeah, I remember. So ASICs had just started to come about.
Yeah.
So you couldn't home mine Bitcoin with a GPU much anymore. but you could mine Litecoin. And so I mined Litecoin with my computer at the time. I used my laptop to mine some like other random, it was called Quark. And I remember, it's so speedy. Like, that's so good. It literally doesn't exist now. Like, completely, I don't know if they fully rugged it, but it doesn't exist. And then I got, I got rugged on the Litecoin as well, because I just kept it in the mining pool. So we mine LTC. Be able to look it up. I didn't check, I didn't take self-custody of it, and they rugged at some point and took all the Litecoin that was there. So I signed up to Coinbase though. So, as I say, 2013. And but I was like, do I really want to put my debit card in the website? I don't know these people, I don't know what it is. So I didn't end up buying any Bitcoin then. The only thing I had to show for that, at that time, was I got some ripples from XRP. Complete. Don't sue me, Brad Garlinghouse. But it's just apps. It's just the worst vaporware. And like, I have some friends, who are interested in magic internet money, and one of them likes Ripple, and I'm like, it's legit the worst thing. Not only is it completely made up, fugazi stuff, but they're actually bad actors in the space, and they fund, campaigns against Bitcoin, against other people. Anyway, so, and that was 2013, but there wasn't like Bitcoin Twitter then.
Yeah.
It just didn't exist. The only places were, Bitcoin Talk, the forum, and then Reddit. And I don't like Reddit, and I still don't like Reddit. I'm refused to go on Reddit, and I'm like, I'm not going on Reddit. So I kind of fell out of it. I just didn't follow along with Bitcoin anymore, right? Just stopped, got bored. Wasn't keeping up to date with stuff. But there was a moment in like 2015 where I looked at the price of Bitcoin, and it had crashed all the way down to like $100 or something. And I was like, I dodged a bullet. I'm so glad I didn't buy any Bitcoin. And I remember it so clearly. I'm so glad I didn't buy any Bitcoin. Like, oh man, what an idiot. What an idiot I would have been if I'd bought Bitcoin. I'm thinking,
it would have been such a stupid move.
And so, but I mean, just quickly digressing on that. If I had bought Bitcoin, I wouldn't have understood the value of it. So I probably would have sold it, and I wouldn't have kept it, right?
Yeah.
So like, there is a journey for people, and you will have seen this with a whole bunch of people. It takes like 2 or 3 touch points of Bitcoin for people to then actually go, oh yeah, now this is going to be a serious part of my life. So I kind of, felt, just didn't follow along. And then when I had the birth of my first child, I had a bit more time, and I ended up being able to watch YouTube, and there was a lot more content. Bitcoin Twitter and crypto Twitter were then a much bigger thing, and so I enjoyed that. I started to follow along, again made lots of wonderful mistakes that 2017 cycle, and in that next bear market, that 2018, 2019 bear market was formational to me in my thinking of Bitcoin and life in general. And through following along with some thought leaders, reading more books about how there is no second best. And I think about it now that it is literally Bitcoin and literally everything else. I think, real estate, bonds, stonks, altcoins, they're all in another basket. And there's varying degrees of, what's good within there. But there's Bitcoin, and there's literally every other asset available to humanity in another basket. And those thoughts kind of, progressed during that time. And I was like, I just need as much Bitcoin as possible through almost any means, right? So I was like selling everything I had on eBay, like everything was going. I was like, and I had a bunch of S9s at home that I was home mining with. I was just buying as much as I could. I was buying in my pension because you're allowed to back then in the UK. And just, full port into Bitcoin as much as I could. And, you know, it was an exciting time, and I enjoyed it. And when 2020 came about, obviously there was another huge correction with the COVID scare, you know, both with stonks and with Bitcoin. And I was able to lever up at that time to you know, what some people would say, you know, is a dangerous level, but we build up conviction over time as Bitcoiners. And you know, I was like, yeah, cool, I can service this, you know, this leverage. You know, it's good. I'm willing to sacrifice, you know, I'm willing to offset consumption today for future consumption. That's one of the huge benefits that people don't fully appreciate with Bitcoin when they kind of bring it into their lives, is that it does change the way they think about the rest of their lives. It gives them that much, you know, that future focus, rather than, you know, focusing on today, consuming today. And that was one of the key kind of messages of Saifedean, and you know, what he'd already identified, and what, you know, Bitcoin did with lowering time preference. So that was formational. At the same time, so I was a politician for a number of years, and it impacted my thoughts around that at the same time. And I one small funny thing. I was very keen. So Bitcoin had been, you know, big for me personally in terms of personal wealth at the time. And it continues to be. And obviously it gave me a different mindset and everything else. But one thing that I was particularly keen on, I was like, I don't want like my enemies to get Bitcoin, right? I don't want like, so I'm sat in a council meeting, you know, we were in opposition. I might have even been leading the opposition at the time. And I got these, you know, some of them are good people, some of them are complete lunatics on the other side. And I'm like, I really don't want these people to be wealthier, because they'll use that as a weapon against me, right? But then I'd see good people and I'd be like, these people need to know about Bitcoin. So, you know, I'd be, you know, making sure that, you know, people were given some tools. And when you first proper cycle as a Bitcoiner, you want to tell absolutely everyone. You just go around telling everyone like a absolute lunatic, right? Like, let me tell you about Bitcoin. So, trying to tell them everything you can, right? But over time, you realize that people need to make their own decisions. And so I took the view, okay, if I know good people that would benefit from this, you know, both the philosophy and the increase in wealth in their lives, I would, I'd give them a book, and in it, I would, you know, put the date, you know, and who they are, and say, you know, I hope you enjoy this book. And I'd put the quote in, I can only show you the door, you know, from the Matrix, which, you know, because, and the point is, they have to decide for themselves whether they want to do anything. I can't convince anyone. Like I like to think I'm a good salesman, but like I'm, you know, really they have to decide for themselves. And I didn't want, as I say, people that would use it against, you know. And actually, at your first conference in Edinburgh, there was a short. Was it there? I remember there being a lefty talking about how Bitcoin could be left wing, and there's some arguments around, you know, where it is, you know, ideologically as a, you know, as a tool. But I was keen that, you know, people that were going to advance humanity, and, you know, that were believed in freedom. It basically comes down to freedom. I want people who believe in freedom to get more freedom technology and advance themselves. So,
Why did you? Is that the reason you exited politics? What? Because it does it. Affects. I don't want to say.
So
I'll leave you to answer.
I had a lot of fun in politics. I enjoyed it. I got in early at a young age. So I was first elected in 2011, sorry. I was 21 years old. And I went into it. So round here is Lib Dem dominated. Complete domination. Like right now, there's not a single anyone else of any party, for miles and miles and miles. And I lived in an area that had a Lib Dem councillor, and the bins didn't get collected one day, and I emailed them, and I was a bit you know, I was a bit confrontational on the email, I admit, but they didn't respond.
Yeah.
And actually thinking now, I probably wouldn't have responded. But I was like, they haven't responded. I can do a better job than that, right? So I had to go find like the Tory office, right, the Conservative office. And I was like, hey, I want to stand. And they're like, cool, yes, there's elections in May, you should do that. And I'm like, sweet. They then wrote like some leaflets for me, which were terrible. There was like spelling mistakes and all kinds of stuff in them, right? And then I just went and knocked on every single door in this ward, right, that I wanted to represent. It was called Windermere, Applethwaite and Troutbeck. It's a fantastic name for a ward. And I went and knocked on every door twice and talked to people.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, and I didn't know, you know, I just wanted to help people. I'm like, hey, I'm Ben. You got any problems so I can help you out?
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't meet the guy that I was up against. It was just me versus the Lib Dem, no other parties. And I didn't meet the guy until polling day. And I met him, and he was a really nice guy. And, you know, he was very kind to me at the polling station when I met him, and then at the count the next day. And so for those of you not aware, so people vote, and then all of the ballot boxes get taken somewhere, and either that night or the following day, the votes are verified first to make sure that the number of votes that were tallied at the polling station are the number that were in that box.
Okay.
And then they then count them into the different parties, right? And then declare results. So at this count, there's a really important thing for British politics in the count that we do. While they're verifying the votes, you can see which way people have voted, because you're seeing the votes, right? They're putting them, they're just counting them into like little packs of 25.
Yeah.
So you can see them. So if you tally, so if there's only two of you, it's very easy. Okay, how many in that 25 is for me or for my party or whoever? And so from that, you can see which polling stations you're performing better in, because you can see because they verify each polling station basically. And so we could see during that the verification that it was going to be really, really tight. And the guy, the Lib Dem, was a very popular guy. He was good guy. He'd been he was on the count. He was on two authorities. You know, he was deputy leader on one of them. You know, he was well known and liked guy. But me being me, I was like, I'm definitely going to win. Like, I'm going to absolutely smash this, right? Anyway, but yeah, so it's going to be super close, right? This election going through, it was literally neck and neck. So when it comes to the actual counting of the votes, candidates can sit and watch. And we just had one table. There's just like three ladies, counting these votes, right? And again, they put them into piles, and then they bundle them into like 25s, and they stack up. Just these two piles, right? And we're literally neck and neck.
Yeah.
And then as we go up, we can see that I had 7 more votes than this other guy.
Yeah. 7
more votes, right? And so this guy, who I think, very highly of, he turned to me and said, "Looks like you've done it, Ben. You know, I didn't think you'd be able to do it, but, you know, well done."
Yeah.
And shook my hand, because he was a true gentleman. And so what happens at that point is those people that have done the counting, they write a piece of paper and they hand it to the returning officer, the person running the election. Hand it over. And she then calls candidates and agents for provisional results. Okay, so you go over and she's like, okay, I've got the provisional results for Windermere, Applethwaite and Troutbeck. And then she told us the provisional results, and the Lib Dems, she said, had won by 7. Right?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I've won by 7.
Yeah.
And so she's like, right, no, like, I've got it here. And so we get a recount, right? And so they need to count them all again and double check, right? And I go tell the Lib Dem candidate, because he didn't bother coming over, he knew he'd lost, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, don't worry about it, they'll figure it out." He'd resigned himself to it at that point. So they do a second recount, right? Where I'd won by 7, right? But then the Lib Dem agent's like, well, where have these 14 votes come from? Like, this is what's going on here? So we had to do a third recount, right?
Oh, wow.
Where, again, I'd won by 7, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit nerving. And so, I got on the council, and I was, there was 3 councillors who were 3 times my age. And there was 2 who had been on the council longer than I'd been alive. And as I say, we were in opposition at the time. There was a few of us. And I had a good time. It was being on a council. I was a bit of a cheeky chap at school, and getting on a council was like being at school, but the teachers couldn't tell you off because you were there. And so I had a good time. But we don't have time really to tell you the full story, but we had a really rough time in Windermere politically, with that guy that I referenced there. He managed to get re-elected in another ward, which meant there was a by-election for that. So the following February, they effectively kicked out one of their other Lib Dems so that he could get back on, because he was a bit, more politically engaged. We then had county council elections. I stood in, not against him, the way wards and boundaries work. I stood in Ambleside effectively, didn't get in. He got elected, so he was still on the county council. He became, the deputy leader of the council finance, and he wanted to put in on-street car parking charges, so putting parking meters on the streets. Incredibly unpopular. The council was in a tough position. The officers, the people running the council, had always wanted to do it. The previous administration, which was a Labour Tory one, said no. But now they had this Labour Lib Dem coalition with this guy. He was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Incredibly unpopular, and to bring this story to a close, that guy was just too kind of a man for politics. He ended up committing suicide, or attempting to, and then dying later on. And there was a whole bunch of stuff around that that you can find, and there was a lot of scandal around why and how and who should have been supporting him, who wasn't supporting him, and that's not nice, because I'm part of that story. I'm part of the reason, part of that story. And his wife was a councillor. She'd been she became leader of the district council, and then was thrown. There was a lot of backstabbing. She was thrown out. There was all this bitterness. Obviously, he died, which was incredibly sad. And I think about it all the time. So through this, after he died, there was then a by-election, obviously, to fill his seats, both the county and the district. I stood for the county, didn't get it. The Lib Dems got both seats again. Then that guy wanted to stop. He didn't want to do it. So there was another by-election. So we had, over the period of 9 years, I think we had 7 elections or something in Windermere. Like, it was a lot of elections. Wow. Which sharpened me to be able to do electioneering and personal marketing and branding, all the stuff you have to. Politics is effectively a popularity contest, a personality popularity contest, and so in the end, again, through it's there's plausible deniability, but my ward, that Windermere, Applethwaite and Troutbeck, my opposition had been able to generate a set of circumstances where the most Tory bit was taken off me and put into a heavy Lib Dem area, and then I was put into effectively what was the safest Lib Dem seat in the country. So they merged them, right? So I got my best bit taken off me, and then I was put with the worst possible bit, right? Yeah. And so I thought, I wasn't going to get elected again. And but I agreed with both my now wife and my father that I would, I'd go down fighting. I'd stand the next 2 elections, a county council election and a district council election. And, in these new boundaries that were literally the worst boundaries available, to me. But the good people of Windermere, decided that I should be their councillor. And so I won those elections, right? And so, through all of that, And that was a great honor, and I was very proud of that. And there's a few reasons I think that happened, particularly around, I'd stood so many times, I'd shown people that, I cared, that I was here for the long run. I created, with some key partners, a Christmas celebration, a Christmas market in the town, and which was a great success. We had all the people coming out, and people knew that was me. I'd done that.
I heard you dressed up as Santa this year.
So,
turn the lights on.
So I take Christmas very seriously. Very, very seriously indeed. And Christmas is a big part of what we're doing here at Lowood Bay.
Yeah.
And I've got great plans to turn, I want people to come to the Lake District because of what Lowood Bay is doing for Christmas. And so I've got a whole host of investments going in. I mean, if we were here a few months earlier, I got, it's a 36-foot tree that we have just on the lawn, just there, like literally there.
Yeah.
Huge. It's as big as the one outside St. Paul's Cathedral, right? And I was like, I told the guy, I want a bigger one. He's like, I'm not giving you a bigger one. And I was like, I want a bigger one. And my team here were like, we don't want a bigger one. I'm like, give me a bigger one. I want a bigger one. So, but yeah, politics. I mean, I fell out of love with, and I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but this is the truth. I fell out of love with democracy as a way to manage people. So because what happened time and time again was that both myself and that other guy that's a big part of the story, and forgive me for not saying his name, him and I, we were forced to make decisions based on the views of a small amount of people.
Yeah.
So because the tolerances were so tight, I'd won by 7 votes. If one street wanted something that might be bad for everyone else, neither of us could afford not to do what that one street wanted. And we see that time and time and again with, democracy, that it isn't the choice of the majority. It's actually vocal minorities that are able to lobby and push through changes that might not be beneficial for everyone through essentially capture of politicians. So I kind of fell out of love with it. I stood those last 2 times, did my best for the people of Windermere. My terms got extended greatly because of both COVID and local government reorganisation. They got rid of the councils that I was on. And but it was a really good. If you imagine, I get to run this business. It's a very big business, with a lot of staff, a lot of revenue, all that kind of stuff. And, I spent the best part of 13 years on a local authority. The district council is a similar size business, in terms of the money, through taxation and government grant that it brings in and what it goes out. The county council is probably 10 to 20 times bigger than this, huge budgets, looking after all the adult social care. It set me up to, and I took, business approach to the councils, and sometimes they didn't like that. Like, not all councillors read the finance papers, right?
Yeah.
And I would find mistakes that the officers had made with their calculations, with other bits, and they didn't like that, right?
Yeah.
Of course, no one likes being found out. But, it set me up in great stead to be able to lead this business, and to, how important it is to look after people and make sure people are happy, and I'm keen to, both our staff and our customers are really happy. So, but it gave me an opportunity to, meet lots of people. I was invited down to Downing Street a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I've got, in my office, great pictures with David Cameron, with Boris, Liz Truss, Theresa May. I met Rishi, but didn't get a photo. It did give me those kind of opportunities. And, I was telling you before about how, I wanted to introduce Bitcoin to a few people. And, I introduced Bitcoin to a few MPs that ended up buying Bitcoin. Yeah. So, but again, I only went to certain MPs and sometimes didn't, introduce it to others. But yeah, bringing it back to, to this business and what we're doing here, a background in politics does set you up well for, managing different, constituent groups in terms of your board structure.
Yeah.
Making sure that things get done when you want them to get done, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, added value to my life. But I am glad that I'm out of it now.
Right.
I'm glad I retired. I didn't like a lot of what the Tory party were doing, certainly around digital surveillance. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I was uncomfortable with, and time after time I was like, "Flip, what am I going to do here?" Should I just, resign on principle with these issues? But it's one of those. So there's a very long story in my history in politics.
It's so interesting, though, and it's nice to hear that. And I imagine that then pushed you potentially more. I'm going to bring it back to Bitcoin, of pulling you back to that freedom aspect, and then you can focus it down on the business as well. And for the last 5-10 minutes, I just want to talk about how you've integrated Bitcoin into the business.
So the aspiration was to bring Bitcoin on all levels and do as much as possible with Bitcoin to fully immerse ourselves and plug the business into the Bitcoin network. And to reap the benefits of that. Now, some of those things have been much harder to do than I would have liked. We haven't been able to deploy a strategy of buying Bitcoin over time, mainly because we have fantastic use for the capital within the business. It is more efficient to make investments in expanding the spa or buying a new hotel. The returns, and what we're able to do in terms of growth as a business, it makes sense to use the capital for that. I'd love to pay staff with it, but the solicitors are like, what if this, which is a shame, because I would have liked that, both not just for myself, but other, staff. And the aspiration was to top it up as well. You can hear some of our wonderful guests behind us now. But, I wanted to pay staff and to top it up for them, because in a similar way that pensions work, that was, again, something that, but again, the solicitors were like, oh, you're inducing an investment, you're not licensed to give investment advice, all this kind of stuff that would have been fine if we were, running this business somewhere else in the world. But I wanted to obviously take payment in Bitcoin. So, and that's up and running, and you can pay on the website for your stay. You can pay for your drinks at the bar or your restaurant, set your bill in Bitcoin, which is fantastic. And we've already had, some decent support from Bitcoiners, because Bitcoiners like supporting Bitcoiners, and they like. One thing that I was really clear on when we were going out and telling people that we were accepting Bitcoin, something that's important to me as a Bitcoiner is knowing, well, what they're going to do with the Bitcoin. Is it just a marketing tool? Is it just a way to, but no, we're holding the Bitcoin. We'll get to a stage, if we're able to get to a point where, a load of our income is coming from Bitcoin, then clearly we're going to have to cover margin. But at the moment we're holding, all the Bitcoin that's coming so far, we're holding.
Nice.
And, that's going to be the strategy for the foreseeable. But the area that I'm particularly excited about is paying suppliers, because I'm keen for a circular economy. So obviously paying staff would have been part of that, but paying suppliers is as well. And we're embarking upon a really exciting adventure where the aspiration is that we'll be buying our coffee direct from a plantation in El Salvador. So I'm going out and meeting the farmer. We'll be sending the Bitcoin to him. No intermediaries, literally,
nice.
You hear about people, maybe some people might buy direct off a farmer, but they're still having to get, go onto my NatWest account and, send it to their bank via Swift and pay hundreds of pounds, and exchange rates and everything. No, goes straight to the farmer in El Salvador. As you know, Bitcoin is, one of the two currencies of that nation. And then we'll get it shipped over here, we'll get it roasted, and then I'll be able to serve it to our guests, and they'll be able to pay in Bitcoin for the coffee. So that I'm excited about that, and further opportunities like that to build upon the story, and our mission to as deeply as possible integrate Bitcoin into the business.
Yeah, that's great to see. And I was like, I like that aspect of it. I was like, how can we create circular economy? And it feels like throughout everything, your Bitcoin journey, it's like, how do I help the network grow even further, even by distributing books, and telling people about it.
Yeah.
But then it really, like, it's about helping the network as well by creating an ecosystem, accepting it as a form of payment, and then holding it. Because, like, that's a big thing for Bitcoiners to know, because it does make a big difference. If someone accepts Bitcoin but automatically turns it into pounds,
it's helpful, but it's nowhere near as
exactly. Whereas it's way more incentive for people to spend that Bitcoin if they know that you're then going to hold that Bitcoin, and then who knows, that Bitcoin then could go to a farmer in El Salvador to pay for your coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And as part of the rollout with the payments, it took a lot of time to run sessions, like I did with the AI 101, but this was with the team, and teaching them what Bitcoin is, what it isn't. Showed them some videos, both in terms of educational content and about, for me, Bitcoin for you and I is the savings technology. It's a way for us to, grow our personal wealth. But for some people in the world, it's, it is a freedom technology, and they need it for that purpose. They need a kind of uncensorable form of payment to be able to survive under, terrible regimes, right?
Yeah.
And so, as part of that the sessions I did with the staff, I there's a great video from the Human Rights Foundation that goes over, that very point, and again, offering effectively unlimited amounts of the little Bitcoin book to my staff. If they want to read and learn about it, I'll buy them the little book, the little book of Bitcoin for $8.99, and give it to them to be able to read about and answer any questions that they have in a neutral way. As I said before, I can only show you the door. I'm not going to force you to do anything, but I'm very happy to show you the door. And if you want to take that step and learn more about what Bitcoin is, what it can do for you, and what it's doing in the world, then awesome. I'll share and I'll talk about it for an hour with you on a couch overlooking Lake Windermere in the finest of surroundings here.
And it is, and like, I can only thank you so much for inviting me up here and to be able to talk to you and like actually experience what you've got going on here. Because it is, as I said, an experience.
It's one thing that I'm particularly excited about, what the work you're doing with the network, the business network, is that it does give an opportunity to show that there's normal people out there with amazing businesses who are Bitcoiners, and we can learn more about them, because otherwise we might not hear about them and might not be able to support them, and be able to promote them and show that there is some really cool things that Bitcoiners are doing, other than us talking on Twitter and and all the rest of it. So
it's amazing things, and it's like it's normalizing it, because you run an amazing business, but you're also trying to attach Bitcoin into that and integrate that throughout the business, and just we want to normalize that and like showcase the people that are doing it. So that's why for the podcast now, a lot of them will focus on like the business for quite a lot of it, like you, the business, but then also then bring in Bitcoin towards the end, and talk about that, so we can actually normalize it and bring more people in to understand it. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you for welcoming me here, and I hope many more Bitcoiners will come and have the same experience.
I'm very proud of what we've got here at Lower Bay Resort. I'm very proud of what we've got at the other hotels, Lancaster House, Wild Boar Estate. And, I want to share that with everyone, including, Bitcoiners. And if there are people listening who want to support, Bitcoin business, then look us up, book in, get your rare sirloin steak, and your béarnaise and your chips.
It is,
If you get the fries, don't come. I'm kidding. You can have fries. But come and enjoy, beef and Bitcoin. There's not much better than that. Bring your missus, get her an orange drink in the spa, get that passion fruit martini going in the spa, and you'll have a fantastic time up here in the English Lake District.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.